Alright, welcome everyone. This is the my initial impressions of the Steez CT SV TW. New reel by Daiwa. This is the new high-end reel. It's replacing the Steez SVTW as their high-end reel. The SVTW looks like it's still going to be in production. It's just a little bit different tool. I think this is a little bit more finesse oriented than the SVTW, but it still holds quite a bit of line. It holds 85 yards of 10-pound line, and that's what I'm going to be throwing on here. I'm going to be using 10-pound line. I'm going to use this for my all-around medium stuff, so I'm going to be throwing like some jerk baits, like 4-inch worms with like maybe a 16th ounce shaky head on there, some Senkos, small jigs, kind of whatever that would fit in that 1/8 ounce to maybe up to a 1/2 ounce range. So without taking up too much of your time, I'm going to go over some of the initial things why I ended up buying it, because it was kind of funny, because at first I was not going to get this reel. I was reading about it on the TackleTour forums, and I'm like, oh, you know what, I don't think it's going to be worth getting. I think it's the narrow spool, yeah, it'll cast nice, but your inches per turn, so when you take up, so one turn of the handle, how many inches you take up. This reel, it says 29.9 inches per turn, which that's probably the full spool. So seeing how the spool, it is narrower, but it's a little bit deeper. So what that's going to do is when you whip out a cast out there, it's, let's say the functional part of your spool, so like with your line, it's going to go down faster than a standard width spool, like the 34mm size that Daiwa uses. So that's what, that was a big thing for me, what would be a drawback. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, hey, with my medium setup, I had a 7.1 to 1 gear ratio Steez SVTW on there. So I'm like, if I get the 8.1, it's basically kind of like having that 7.1. So I decided to sell both my Steez SVTWs in order to get this. I still have some money left over, so it's not like it's worth double the other two reels. But initially, yeah, it definitely palms. I palm kind of weird. I don't know if you ever seen my other videos, but I palm like this. I have small hands, by the way, so whatever you see, I mean, if you got bigger hands, just think, you know, just kind of upscale it. But it's small for sure. Definitely noticeably smaller up along the top here. On the bottom, not so much, because they have that teardrop shape to the Steez SVTW. So there's not too much of a difference down here. Comparing the Steez to the Aldebaran, this is the 16 Aldebaran BFS, but it's the same frame size as the new MGL and as well as the 15. You can see they're pretty similar. I give the Aldebaran a slight edge to palming. They're both fantastic, but it's slightly smaller. That gearbox might get in the way a little bit more than the Daiwa, I think. Yeah, you feel the gearbox less with the Daiwa than the Aldebaran for sure. But super smooth. I'm actually kind of surprised. Sounds like it needs a little bit of grease on it, which is fairly common. I mean, I don't buy a reel and fish it for a long period of time without doing any sort of maintenance to it. I like to clean out the gears if I need to. Definitely put a little bit of grease on there. Flush out the bearings as well, because sometimes they put grease on the bearings for whatever reason. Even on high-end reels that happens. Oh, so the drag, like how Shimano has that exciting drag sound, like with the Aldebaran BFS, that sound, like when line's coming out, you can hear it. Daiwa did the same thing. This is the first low-profile reel that I know that they did that with. I don't know if they did it with any other reels, but it's kind of to me, it's a useless feature for bass fishing. I don't really care if line's getting pulled out or knowing that it is. Now, if I'm trout fishing with my Aldebaran, yeah, I'm gonna definitely want that feature. And also, let's see with the Aldebaran. So the Aldebaran's brake control knobs right there, right? I did some modifications to it because it's tough to adjust. With 15 Aldebaran BFS, it's always tough. Look at that right there. It's super easy, clicks, and it's numbered. There's 20 adjustments, and it's numbered 0, then it'll be a dot, and then a 2, and then a dot. So it's 0 through 20. Super easy to adjust, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna move when you're palming the reel at all. it's pretty recessed, as you can see there. So the big marketing thing, right? You've been reading about this 30 millimeter spool. I'll show you why it's important. I kind of talked about the negative part of it, but the positives is, see how that's narrower, and you also have Daiwa's T-wing system too. So that pops up right there. This is the line guide, and it's wider. So if you look at the angle from here to the edge, and then here to the edge, it's a lot less than a standard reel. Let's just say the Aldebaran. And Aldebaran got pretty good angles as well. Oh, you can't really see it, but just picture this just being a standard line guide and a little bit wider spool. You're gonna have more harsh angles coming through. So what that's gonna do is have more resistance on there. So this narrow spool really takes advantage of the T-wing, and I think you're gonna get super smooth casts. And that's what I've been reading about on the TackleTour forums. The casting is almost like flat, if it makes sense, just probably because there's no resistance, and that small spool starts up really quick. People have been saying it's really smooth under resistance. I know some people got the 6.3 gear ratio, which I personally wouldn't get. I don't own any 6.3 gear ratios to begin with, let alone a finesse style reel. And with that narrow of a spool, you're going to be down toward like the 5 gear ratio almost speed wise when you're cranking that in. I guess what I should add too is that when I talk about using this almost like a 7.1, that's just for speed. Now the torque is still going to be the same type of torque almost with the 8.1, unless you get into the nitty gritties of like the diameter of the spool and stuff like that, like you would for like tire size for truck, like talking about gear ratios. The zero adjuster knob, I don't know if I touched on that, but that's still on here. That's basically, they set it from the factory how it should be. I'm going to loosen it up a little bit just because I like my tension knot, my spool to barely move back and forth. That way it's consistent throughout all my reels, and then also I just let the brakes do the job. It's really nice for pitching because you have like no resistance there. I think there's something else I was going to point out on here. What was it? Oh, yeah, I saw that. So when I do the break apart video, I'm going to be doing like the same, kind of like what I did with the Tatula, kind of talk about it like I am now, and then I'm going to do into like the casting and then the maintenance part of it so you can see inside the reel. There's hex bolts on there, also known as like Allen wrench. See that? The only other reel I've seen that with, I know the Ryoga, the original Ryoga, made by Daiwa. It's a round reel, and I think the Calcutta, the new Conquest, I think that has it too, but I don't remember. Looks like there's 1, 2, 3 bolts that I see so far that go in there. So you get to see the inside, and also what makes this happen. It's a pretty simple, at least how Shimano does it, it's pretty simple, and it seems like it doesn't affect performance. But make sure that you comment below if you want to see some more specifics about it. And also, I'll be kicking out the on the water video, I don't know, probably a couple of days after this one drops, and then the maintenance one shortly after that. And then you guys got to wait till water opens up for me to actually get some fish on it. So make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when that happens. Also follow me at Instagram because I post on there more frequently. It's as easy as taking a picture, putting some hashtags, and click and post. So I encourage you guys to follow me in there as well.